This week, we got quite a few trailers and a little bit of sneak peeks at some new films that are coming out in the near future. And I wanted to talk about a few of them because I find some of them to be pretty interesting. Kind of got me excited about it. Starting off with Shrek 5. We got our first look not too long ago. And to be honest, I'm not yet sure how to feel about this one. I'm not so much negative on it, but there are some things maybe to be concerned about, but also to be excited about. So let's get into Shrek 5 and the recent teaser that we got. Well, really, it was a cast announcement. I don't know about you, but if you're around my age, you more so grew up with Shrek 1 and 2, and those are the ones that I love and remember the most. After Shrek 2, they kind of blur together for me. I vaguely remember liking the one with Rumpelstiltskin, but I don't remember those movies. And to be honest, I don't know that we need a fifth Shrek installment. Now, the fact that we're getting one, even though we don't need one, I'm not going to be mad about it. And I'm definitely not going to say no, but I do think that it is interesting the way that they're playing it. So for Shrek 5, we have our returning cast: Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, Eddie Murphy, and we also got a new addition in Zendaya, who will be playing the daughter of Shrek and Fiona. And now, personally, I don't mind this casting of Zendaya. I know she is everywhere. People are sick of seeing her face. I get it. But she is a talented actor, and I don't mind seeing her around if she does a good job. For me, it's always about whether or not an actor does a good job. Can they sell the role? And if they do, if they can, then you know what? By all means, join the cast. And what's interesting about her casting is now we know that there is a time jump from the last movie to Shrek 5, where Shrek and Fiona's daughter seem to be a bit more of a teen, young adult. And while this first look was kind of weird because Shrek and Fiona had 3 kids and we only saw 1, we don't know where the other 2 are, at least not yet. Maybe they haven't been cast yet. Maybe they're off to college or something. I don't know. Do fairy tale creatures go to college? So I don't know if this movie is going to be so much centered around Shrek's kids, although it'd be kind of cool to get a movie about the kids, because if Shrek and Fiona's kids are older, then you know, maybe Donkeys and Dragons kids are a bit older. Well, not maybe, they will be, but you know, might get a little bit of a side plot of all of them and what's going on with them, but maybe not. A negative that's going on around about this first look is the animation style that they chose to go with for Shrek 5. They definitely changed it. Very noticeable. Personally, for me, it doesn't really look too bad. I think it looks just fine. It's a little bit slimming. The characters do look a little bit different, but with this time jump, you know, the characters are older too, and I definitely think that you see that age in Shrek mainly, and Donkey and Fiona, but the characters are still recognizable, and it doesn't bother me too much that they changed the animation style. I guess my question for it though would be why? We've had 4 movies already with a certain animation style. Why choose to change it up now? But I do see a lot of people having that argument and not really liking the change all that much. But as for me, I do look forward to jumping back into this world on a new adventure with these characters and maybe seeing what kind of new references they make to some fairy tale creatures. Bringing us on over to talk about yet another fairy tale-ish type of world, we got our first little sneak peek at the new He-Man movie that is set to be coming out. And while I'm not too versed in the world of He-Man and the mythos that's got going on, I know 100% my dad was a huge fan of He-Man as a kid, along with probably anybody in his generation. So growing up, I definitely knew of it. I had a He-Man toy, I had a Skeletor toy, but I didn't really stick with that one growing up. I just more so know of the property. But I will say that this movie and this iteration doing a new He-Man is so long overdue. They should have did a He-Man movie, and I am excited to see what this brings. Jared Leto being our Skeletor, I think is going to be interesting. Now, like Jared Leto, I think that he is a good actor. Unfortunately, I think that he's been plagued a lot with very bad scripts, a couple mediocre movies. I'm hoping that they stick more to a prosthetic type of look for him, more practical effect, and I think that he'll deliver. I think that he'll do a pretty good job in that role. One thing about this movie, I do wonder why they are taking the route of like Minecraft, and they're making it to where our real world is going to mix, or they're going to jump into the world of Eternia, instead of just making the entire movie being this fantasy-like movie taking place completely in Eternia. I don't know why they chose to go this route, but we're gonna have to see and have to find out. I'm curious to see what they're cooking. Bringing us over to talk a little bit more action-packed, we got the trailer for this movie called Havoc, starring Tom Hardy, who essentially is playing a old-time, beaten down, worn down detective who is trying to save the child of a politician, all while figuring out that the city that he was working in a little bit more underworld, a little bit dirtier than maybe he thought. And this seems like a typical generic op type of action movie, but I do think that it looks fun, and if the delivery nails it, it could just be a really fun, badass movie. Because it does look like a badass action cop type of movie filled with a lot of violence, a lot of blood, a ton of action going on. The camera angles that they seem to be using for these action sequences look really good, really intense. And if it does nail the landing, if it's a good execution and it ends up being just a fun action movie, I'm all for it. I can sit back, I can watch, and I can enjoy a nice beat 'em up type of movie. Tom Hardy is a great actor, in my opinion. He's a likable character in almost everything that he does. I think that he will be able to deliver very nicely. We also have a decent cast that is joining Tom Hardy. People like Timothy Olyphant and Forrest Whitaker, who is acting way more like Saw Gerrera in this movie than he is in Andor season 2. But whatever, we're not getting into Star Wars. With this cast, I think that it should be quite an enjoyable time. Maybe not the most profound and best movie ever, but I definitely see it being a really fun, action-packed type of movie. Moving along, talking about a trailer for a horror movie that we recently got coming to Netflix, Fear Street Prom Queen. Now, unfortunately, with this franchise, I have not watched the previous 3 movies. My cousin has been telling me to watch it, and I just, for some reason, haven't gotten around to it yet, but I do want to see it. But this trailer that we got for this new installment definitely makes me want to go back and check this out. This movie is taking place in 1988, with giving off very classic slasher vibes. This was a really nicely done teaser type of trailer, hints at a lot of awesome kills. I think that the setting of it being at a prom, students at school getting ready for what seems to be the biggest moment of their life, and now there's a crazy slasher killer going around, I think sets up a pretty great setting for this movie to take place. I do hope that the characters in here are likable. I don't know if they plan to do a second and third movie. A lot of these characters are probably not going to make it, but if we have a final girl or a final guy or whoever it ends up being our survivor, I hope that they're likable, and I hope that I'm not necessarily rooting for the killer, although those movies tend to be fun too. And I do hope that the killer isn't so generic looking. I think the most recent killer that probably had the best look to him was probably Hard Eyes. Otherwise, it's usually just some weird killer in a onesie wearing a black hoodie going around stabbing somebody with a very generic mask. So I hope that the design for this killer ends up being a little bit more memorable. This trailer actually got me pretty hyped, so I'm definitely going to be going back and watching those previous 3 movies in preparation for the new one. And finally, bringing us to talk about some Daredevil Born Again, coming out next week, man. And oh, I am so excited to check this one out. This week, we had our first reviews of the first 2 episodes hit social media platforms. And man, these reviews were so overwhelmingly positive. It gave me goosebumps. A lot of praise was being given to this show for its action, being bloody and action-packed and keeping you at the edge of your seat. This is said to be Marvel's best show yet, which is really crazy to hear, considering that this show had a complete overhaul. I think they kept maybe like 1 episode worth of footage and completely redid the entire show, bringing back so many characters, adding some new characters like Muse. Cannot wait to see the way that this was executed. I can't wait to get into this story. Absolutely love those first 3 seasons over on Netflix. And even if this was exactly the same vibes as that one, I'd probably be happy. But to hear that this just does so much better and so much more than those first 3 seasons, while also paying respect to it, is just something you really want to hear. It makes you feel really good about getting into this project. Marvel's had a few slip-ups lately, but I definitely think that Daredevil is going to be the one to get a lot of people back on board. Every single trailer that has come out regarding this show has upped my anticipation and excitement for it. And now seeing that Jon Bernthal is going to be co-writing a Punisher special presentation, dude, you know that they got something special with these 2 characters if they're letting Jon Bernthal get in and do his own Punisher special presentation. And I like the special presentations. Werewolf by Night was fun. Let's see the Punisher get his. I'm definitely liking this new and more mature era of Marvel, and I can't wait to see it all really get started with Daredevil coming out next week. That is pretty much all of the news that we got today. I want to thank you guys for coming by and listening to me talk about some movies that I find really interesting and kind of excited about. If you did like the video, make sure you hit that like button so that the video gets passed on to other people. Hit that subscribe button for me so that you can stay updated on future content that comes out. As always, man, I appreciate you guys' time. I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all be smooth. Stay geeked up.